Okay, let's talk about the veil and how it has not thinned since Samhain ended. If you're new here, my name is Teal. I'm a practicing witch and I teach absolutely everybody I come across everything they need to know about witchcraft, as well as chit chat about all the stuff that happens beyond the veil. You know, that kind of stuff. If that's your type of content, please like, follow, share, and do all the cool shit for me. Okay, this is going to be a bit of a longer video, so I'm probably just going to do the intro on here, and then I'll move the rest of it to, YouTube. If you don't know what the veil is, it is the very thin and technically invisible to the naked eye sheet that separates our reality from the realness of the other side, where energy resides and lives and, enjoys their space over there. Now, for some people, being tapped into this area is completely easy. It's like second nature to them. And normally you'll figure this out when you're a child, because you will either see things as a child, or you will, you'll hear things, etc., etc. Especially if you've ever heard those stories about kids like remembering their past lives. That is someone who is very connected to the other side, just naturally, organically. Now, this is not like a, oh my gosh, you have to be born this way type thing. Everybody has these gifts. It's just a matter if they were cultivated or not and nurtured or not. Now, as a witch, you can grow these gifts. You can tap into them and grow them and become stronger and use them just as anybody that is organically able to can. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk about the veil and how it thins on Samhain. Now, this is something that repeatedly happens throughout the years. Every year it happens, and it's basically a shift in the energy, right? So normally, let's use a number line for this. So we're going to use 1 through 10, and normally the veil is sitting at a 10 for those that are not awakened or those that have not had their gifts cultivated. But let's say it's usually sitting at like an 8 for those that are tapping into it, a 6 for those that are very much tapped into it, and like a 5, 4 for those that have been experienced and have been tapping into it their whole lives. Now, here's where the shift comes, because on Samhain, all of that goes away, and it doesn't matter if you've been cultivating or not. You're always going to be sitting somewhere around a 5 to a 1. Okay, so 5 is somebody who's never cultivated their gifts, etc., etc., and a 1 is somebody who's very much tapped into it. This is where you get all the sightings from. If you go back and you look at like sightings and when they've happened, a lot of them have happened all like right around the Samhain time, right around Halloween, etc., etc. I mean, obviously there's other ones, where people are just starting to get their gifts or whatever the case may be, and they get a sighting or whatever. But most of the big sightings, they happen right around this time, and it's because everybody as a collective all of a sudden can see everything, and the energy from all of that, it just builds and builds and builds and creates this huge shift in the universe. Now let's talk about how this year is different from the other years. So 1, if you're a witch, you have noticed this very strange shift that has been happening. There's a large shift that has been slowly progressing forward each day, each week, each month, etc., etc. And then there's all these little baby shifts that have been happening. You might notice that your gifts have been really powerful. You've been really, really good at insight on things. You walk into a room and normally, you're like, oh, maybe that's the vibe. But now you're like, I know what the freaking vibe is, and I'm going to change it because I don't like this way that the vibe is being right now. So I'm going to change it. All these different things are happening, okay? And that's what happens during Samhain. So the veil itself is no longer this thick, potent energy that is blocking us from using things that we normally aren't able to use or we normally need to practice to use. It is now thinned out and just allowing everyone to tap into it just enough to either become awakened or to use our gifts, our powers, everything that we have at our fingertips in order to progress forward in our journey. Now, normally this would go away, okay? So Samhain itself is from sundown on the 31st of October till sundown on the 1st of November. And normally this whole excitement of energy that's thick and heavy being depleted down to nothing, that usually lasts for just the 24 hours, and then it kind of like dwindles away, as we've all seen it happen before. And if you haven't seen it happen before, you're probably recognizing, oh, I know what happened now. That explains this and that and this and that. And so that's what happens, okay? So it slowly dissipates, and then we're back to square one again. But this time it's not dissipating, you guys. It has not dissipated. It has not thickened back up. It has just stayed real thin. The energy is it's like spurting out, but then it stops. And then it spurts out, and then it stops. It's giving everybody ample time to stick their claws in and get a nice latch on to how to use this power in, what benefits you best, or, to help your clients, or to become awakened, etc., etc. Okay, so now let's talk about what we can do to make sure that we don't get overwhelmed and we get to keep all of those amazing things that we're going to work towards this month and then finish. Also, this month is, equipped with the Beaver Moon. So this is the perfect month not only to work towards our goals of creating those skills and those gifts, but also to finish that hard work and to put into motion those workings and those gifts that we have worked so hard towards. Okay, here's a couple of things that you really, really need to focus on over the next couple of weeks to, one, maintain the, continued roll forward rather than getting stuck and being like, oh, it's too much. I don't know what to do with myself, okay? So we're maintaining, right? We're maintaining the push forward into bettering our gifts, right? And then two, to continue to transmutate all of that energy in and out of yourself, that therefore you never get tired. And then let's talk about how we're going to schedule each one of these gifts to get worked on and practiced on and completed first, second, third, fourth, etc., etc. Making sure that we don't allow all of these gifts to jump out in front all at one time is very important, because the other two things where you get tired and then you get stuck, that's all going to happen if you allow yourself to let all the gifts out at one time and let them all just kind of take control. So that one's probably the most important, being able to control which gift comes out and which one gets worked on at what time. Okay, first things first, in order to make sure we don't get stuck and we don't get tired and burnt the fuck out, protection. Protections. We're making our wards. We're doing our cleansing. We're doing our hygiene, our daily protection hygiene. We're protecting our car, our house, our family, our money, everything, our home, our work, everything, okay? We're making sure it's all protected. Second, cleansing practices. We need to be cleansing and revamping the energy around us and within us consistently at least twice a week. Transmutating energy. That is another huge one that we're going to want to take practice in, okay? Now, if you don't know how to transmutate energy, it's super easy, and you can learn how by, following along with me or signing up for one of my mentorships, or etc., etc. DM me if you need any info on it. Now, let's talk about making sure that we are scheduling all of our gifts to come out at a certain time. That way we're not like, oh my God, they're all happening at once and I don't know what to do. I personally like to make a list. That's right, a physical list that I write down, and I write it down from top to bottom, okay? So let's say that one of the gifts that's coming out is your ability to commune with spirits, like me. Then I'm going to write that at the top of the list, because that's what I want to focus on this month, and I want to complete that so that I am solidified in that gift and able to practice it and use it whenever I want. So that's going to be the top at my list, okay? And let's say the next one is that you've gotten really good with your empath and your abilities to really feel the room and feel people, and now you want to work on physically changing the room and physically changing the temperature of other people, okay? You're going to write that on your list, okay? 1, 2, and 3, etc., etc. You're just going to go down the list of your gifts, okay? Now, we're not moving from one gift to the next gift until number 1 is completed and fully taken care of, until you feel fully solidified in that gift. Once that happens, you can mark it off, okay? Completed. I personally would not put a scratch through it. Don't write any lines through it, okay? Anything that could be symbolized as going backwards, let's not do that, okay? But let's write right next to it, completed, fully submerged, I'm solidified in this, etc., etc. And then you're just going to move on from there following that same example. Now, if you want to learn how to grow your gifts and build on them and become solidified in those gifts, DM me, become part of my mentorship, etc., etc. I'd love to teach you.